You probably think having an IQ of 300 would make you a god. You'd crack the stock market in an afternoon. You'd cure diseases over your morning coffee. You would see the matrix of reality while the rest of humanity is just stumbling around in the dark. It sounds like the ultimate superpower, but biology doesn't give out superpowers for free. In reality, a 300 IQ wouldn't look like a Marvel movie. It would be a biological nightmare, a psychological prison, and the most profoundly isolating experience a human being could ever endure. Here is exactly what would happen to your body, your mind, and your reality if you were cursed with an IQ of 300. To understand the nightmare, we first have to look at the hardware. The average human brain is an absolute energy hog. It accounts for only 2% of your total body weight, but it burns 20% of your daily calories. That's around 400 calories a day just to keep a normal 100 IQ brain idling. Now, imagine scaling that up. Intelligence on a biological level is largely about synaptic density and processing speed. To achieve an IQ of 300, your brain would be running like an overclocked supercomputer without a cooling fan. You wouldn't just feel smart, you would feel constantly, painfully starved. Your brain would siphon glucose away from your muscles and organs. You would likely need to consume upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day just to avoid collapsing into a coma. And then, there's the heat. Neurons generate thermal energy when they fire. An actively problem-solving, 300 IQ brain? You would suffer from chronic low-grade fevers. You would literally feel your head radiating heat, constantly on the verge of physiological exhaustion. But the physical toll is nothing compared to what happens when you try to open your mouth and speak. In the 1930s, psychologist Leda Hollingworth made a fascinating discovery about human interaction. She found that for meaningful communication to happen, two people must be within roughly 30 IQ points of each other. If the gap is larger than 30 points, leadership, empathy, and genuine conversation begin to break down. Let's do the math. The average human has an IQ of 100. A chimpanzee, adjusted for human scaling, sits somewhere around 30 to 40. If you have an IQ of 300, the gap between you and an average person isn't 30 points, it's 200 points. To you, trying to have a deep, meaningful conversation with a normal human being would feel mathematically identical to explaining astrophysics to a golden retriever. You wouldn't be able to relate to anyone. Your jokes wouldn't land because the punchlines would require 5 layers of mental chess to understand. People's daily problems, office politics, traffic, arguments, would look so mathematically trivial to you that you couldn't even fake empathy. You would be surrounded by 8 billion people, yet you would be the only of your species. You wouldn't be a leader, you would be an alien. But the true horror of a 300 IQ is how you would perceive time and reality. Most of us enjoy life because we have biological filters. We get surprised, we make guesses, we experience the thrill of the unknown. At an IQ of 300, your brain is a flawless pattern recognition machine, and pattern recognition destroys surprise. If you watched a movie, you would intuitively map out the entire plot, the character arcs, and the twist ending within the first 3 minutes. If someone tried to lie to you, you would instantly process their micro expressions, vocal pitch, and pupil dilation. And then comes the paralysis by analysis. When you go to make a decision, say buying a house or choosing a career, your brain wouldn't just weigh pros and cons. It would instantly simulate thousands of branching future timelines based on economic data, structural integrity, and geopolitical shifts. You wouldn't be able to turn it off. Every time you looked at a flower, you wouldn't just see a pretty color. Your brain would involuntarily calculate its Fibonacci sequence, its cellular decay rate, and the exact angle of the sun required for its photosynthesis. Nothing would be beautiful anymore. Everything would just be math. Unfiltered, exhausting, relentless math. We naturally idolize intelligence. We spend billions on education, nootropics, and brain training, constantly trying to push the limits of human cognition. But evolution is efficient. It gave us exactly the amount of intelligence we need to survive, build communities, and find meaning, and not a drop more. Being average or even slightly above average isn't a limitation. It is a biological shield. It protects us from the crushing weight of universal data. It allows us to be surprised, to fall in love without calculating the chemical odds of failure, and to actually connect with the people around us. An IQ of 300 wouldn't make you a god. It would make you a prisoner in a cage made of glass, watching a world you completely understand, but can never, ever be a part of. Sleep well tonight and be grateful for the things you don't understand.